Okay, guys, so we have some updates to talk about here. Um, okay, so as of yesterday, I've been doing a lot of research and finding out that there's a lot of interesting things going on in wrestling right now. Last week, there was a meeting at the Worldwide Wrestling Entertainment offices in Stamford, Connecticut, between Impact Wrestling and Triple H. So, what's happening is that they're basically discussing um, possibly working together in the future to promote shows, I guess. So eventually we might see an exchange of talent between both companies going further, which I think is not a bad idea because both companies are doing fairly well right now, and especially Impact is getting much better now that they've got lots of indie talent there. Um, so it sounds like this is going to be good for both companies going forward, that they're meeting together and kind of saying, hey, um, let's not be separate entities. Let's go forward with this and try to work together in the future to have communication between one another for all the wrestling fans to try to put great shows on. And I think that that's a wonderful thing. Um, the other thing I wanted to quickly talk about is they've resolved the Brock Lesnar issue, basically. So it sounds like November 2nd in Saudi Arabia, there will be a pay per view event called Crown Jewels, or Crown Jewel. And that will feature Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns in a main event for the Universal Championship. They're also doing a tournament called Best in the World Cup tournament. So it sounds like they're going to have a lot of international superstars, American, Canadian, Mexico, probably some other talent from around the world. I think that that's again something that could go fairly well, honestly, with fans. I know some people are giving it some hate and saying that that they're just trying to cover their asses, basically, but I don't really see it that way. I see it as wrestling fans as that we're getting great competition. Um, the Mae Young Classic so far on the network has been pretty decent. I've been keeping up with what's going on with that. We even had a match with Madison Rain, or Ashley Rain, um, versus Mercedes Martinez, which actually was not a bad match, honestly. Tony Storm has done fairly well, and with pursuing her WWE dream. So I'm pretty honestly impressed with the Mae Young Classic this year. They've really taken it over with a lot of international talent involved in it, and I think that they're doing a great job with it. Um, so we're gonna go from that to the Impact Bound for Glory pay-per-view, which is coming up, and I think that that's going to be great for Impact because, again, the main event is Austin Aries versus Johnny Impact, formerly Johnny Mundo from the Lucha Underground. Pardon my, I've been under the weather, so I'm just clearing my throat and drinking lots of coffee and tea to try to get better. Um, and then the Mix Max Challenge, that's been announced that's coming back on Facebook Watch, which I have to be honest, I was never really a fan of it. I never really watched it. I thought it was kind of pointless in my opinion. 205 is officially moving now to Wednesday nights. And I've been keeping up with a little bit of that too. It sounds like they're finally pushing some of the talent there. I'm glad that they're finally giving Leo Rush the opportunity that he needs to, and Cedric Alexander and Buddy Murphy, and they have uh, Drew Gulak. I mean, Anthony Nese. I mean, they've got lots of talent in 205 Live. They just need to promote it a little bit more. Um, and then we'll get into Monday Night Raw. So yeah, first things first, as we see the opening is they try to resolve basically the situation that happened at the pay-per-view. So that's when we hear Paul Heyman coming out basically and talking to Reigns and basically saying that Stephanie McMahon has informed him that the pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia is now going to be a triple threat for the Universal Championship. So that's where we hear about that. Then we have a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship between Ziggler and Rollins. Sorry, which was not a bad match. I thought it was a little too slow, but again, after what they did at the pay-per-view, I don't blame them for being hurt after falling through tables off a cage. The women's matches were pretty decent. We hear an update that Alexa Bliss apparently suffered some type of an injury, so she might not be competing at the Mixed Match Challenge. And then we get a little bit more information on Baron Corbin apparently wants to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Which I have to be honest, that match was not really very good, in my opinion. Just way too long, too many things happening, and I don't know, I think we could have done without it, honestly. But then again, I mean, you get to see some superstars who haven't been on Raw in a while that kind of showed up and had matches and stuff, which was kind of interesting. I'm glad that they're finally giving Bobby Roode some airtime, that he's actually on TV. Not quite understanding the whole thing about him and Chad Gable. I don't know if they're a tag team or if he's like a manager or something to Chad Gable. I don't understand the whole thing. I don't know where they're going with it. And I want them to push Bobby Lashley a little bit more, too. I don't understand what's going on with that, either. Yeah, I would say Raw was probably a 7.5 this week. It was okay. Not like the last few weeks. The last few weeks were really good. The one shining moment, honestly, was hearing The Undertaker come out basically saying, okay, Triple H, you talk a big game, but your whole entire career is going to go down the drain down in Melbourne, Australia, when I kick your butt. And I think The Undertaker is going to win that match with Kane in his corner. I mean, yeah, Shawn Michaels is going to be there, but let's be honest, has the tag team DX ever really beat the Brothers of Destruction in their careers? Not that I can think of, honestly. So, nice promo by The Undertaker. I'm glad that he kind of brought up the history between both of them, and all the matches that they have had against each other. I just think it was a great segment, honestly. It made Raw better. That's what I feel about Raw. Raw was decent. SmackDown, I like the issue that they're pushing between Charlotte and Becky to kind of continue the rivalry. I kind of think that that's great for the brand. I think Paige is doing a pretty decent job with SmackDown general manager. I mean, Andrade had a decent match tonight. I mean, not the Nakamura match between him and Rusev was decent. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we got to see Asuka for the first time in a long time. Yeah, I think SmackDown was decent. I would give it at least a 7, honestly. I'm glad that they're kind of building towards some of those other matches coming up. The segment that I thought was really boring, honestly, was Miz TV. I thought was really boring. um, I don't know. Okay, I understand that he's an actor and he's a wrestler, but do they really need him to have Miz TV anymore? I don't think it really does anything for SmackDown. Um, but we get news also about the new show that's happening in a few weeks, honestly, about who's going to show up for SmackDown 1000. So I'm glad that Edge is going to come back and some of the other talent is going to be there. But still no contact between Batista and WWE. Like, what's going on? Like, he was such a huge star for SmackDown, and he helped build SmackDown. I don't understand why they're not doing anything with him or contacting him or trying to get him to come back. I just don't understand. I mean, okay, Mysterio, yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, but even the Undertaker, like if he shows up on SmackDown for that, that's cool too. But I mean, I don't know. Like Batista was such a huge star for the SmackDown. I just don't understand why they're not contacting him and saying, "Hey, come back for this show." I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, he was the world champion how many times, and how many times was he a tag team champion? And I don't know. Like I don't know. And so it does sound like it's going to be a decent show. Like some of the other wrestlers are coming back for it. The Evolution show looks like it's going to be a pretty decent show for the company. They're really pushing a lot of older talent to come back and have matches. Still have not heard anything about Kelly Kelly or Michelle McCool coming back to wrestle. And those are two of my favorite female wrestlers, and not quite understanding why nothing's happening with that. Or Maria Kanellis, even. Why is she not wrestling? I don't understand that either. I mean, yeah, you have other people coming back, which is cool, but still, I mean, I was hoping a little bit more was going to happen with it. So I looked into the Lucha Underground Season 4. I've been watching some of those episodes. And I have to be honest, I really dig it. They are doing great things, honestly, considering that they don't have a whole lot of top stars. But yet they're still continuing with great rivalries. And, Jack Swagger is doing very well on Lucha Underground. I'm very surprised. And so, yeah. Ring of Honor, I think that Death by Dishonor should be a really decent show. Again, I'm glad that they're bringing in, more female wrestlers as well for Women of Honor tournament, and going forward with that and building that up. They have lots of great talent there too. Tamio Dashwood is back actually, and she's starting to compete again for Ring of Honor. I think that's great too. Then we got to see Killer Kelly, and some pretty decent talent, honestly. And I'm really digging the rivalry, honestly, that's going on between Christopher Daniels and some of the other talent. And then the Machine Guns are back now. They're doing their tag team thing too. New Japan, haven't really been following it too much, honestly. I'm not really sure what's going on there. The only thing I know is Chris Jericho is starting to show up in other companies and try to get, matches against some people that he's always wanted to compete against. I would not be surprised if he did not show up in Saudi Arabia for that show for WWE, or even possibly competing at a Ring of Honor or Impact pay-per-view, possibly Bound for Glory. Because I know that he's been talking to the owners of Impact as well. So, Chris Jericho, man, you're awesome. Do your thing. I'm glad that you're traveling the world and doing what you used to do. And trust me, I'm a huge Jericho fan. Anyways, I think that he's amazing, honestly, in the ring, and he's just generally a very talented person. And so that's what I just wanted to do. I just wanted to do a post video here on the update of some things that are going on. And also, Pentagon Jr. has posted something on his social media site regarding the WWE invite. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like he's not really interested in doing that right now at the moment. He wants to kind of stay where he's at. I don't blame him. I mean, he's done wonderful things in Impact Wrestling, so and Lucha as well. So I think that maybe down the road he might consider something, but we can't really, find anything out right now. So, but that is the Drizzle of Wrestling News, Part 2 for this month. We will have some wonderful pay-per-views coming up for World Wrestling Entertainment, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and probably some New Japan shows that should be pretty damn decent too. So, with that, we will continue to bring you wrestling news for all the fans all over the world. Much love, peace, and we love wrestling.